welcome back to my channel and welcome to all my new subscribers. So my name is Zama and I do motherhood videos. I share tips and tricks on taking care of babies and motherhood journey through. I also do vlogs and lifestyle videos. So today's video, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my feeding journey, when I started feeding my son and everything that helped me throughout the whole journey, and how I actually got him to feed himself. He's 10 months old now. But before we do start, guys, please also remember a quick disclaimer. I'm not a professional. Anything I do share is actually from my personal experience, and I'm not telling you how to baby your children. Please also understand, guys, that this video is not in any way trying to bash anyone or tell you how to do it or not how to do it. I'm just sharing my personal experience, and maybe you might find some tips and include it for when you actually do take care of your baby and all that stuff. But anyways, let us get started on the video. Before we do get started on the video, please remember to subscribe. It's free. Like this video if you find it useful. First things first, before we get started, guys, something to note, and which is very important, is when you do start your baby on solids, it's very important to note that you don't stop breastfeeding your baby or formula feeding your baby, whichever two you're doing, or if you're doing both. Don't stop just because you're starting solids and then you think he doesn't need the food, he or she doesn't need the food. The most important nutrients come from your formula or your breast milk at the first year of life. So when the baby is between 0 to 12 months, formula feeding and breastfeeding is very important. So don't stop, guys. First thing is actually knowing when to start formula feeding your baby. So it is said that you can actually start feeding your baby from between 4 months and 6 months, depending on the growth of your baby, obviously. But it is recommended that you actually start at 6 months old. I started at around 5.5 months old with my baby. Something to note is you actually do have to see signs where you see if your baby is actually ready for this, and signs include things such as being able to sit upright, supported but able to sit upright, and their head isn't going on to side, usually like a newborn. And when you're eating, they're actually interested in seeing what you are doing, and they're following around the spoon, or when you put a spoon in their mouth, they actually open their mouths. So those are just a few signs that you can see that my baby's actually ready. But very important, talk to your doctor first before actually starting before 6 months, to know if your baby actually is ready to really start solid. When you do start feeding your baby, it's very important that you don't leave your baby unattended. For instance, maybe leaving the utensils around or anything. Just make sure that when you feed your baby, you give them your full attention, you don't do anything else. Just prevent dangerous accidents. Another thing is actually to note is your baby will gag when you first start feeding your child. Now, what gagging is, you might think they're actually choking, but they aren't choking. It's just a reflex they do because they're trying to figure out swallowing. They're used to formula or milk, which is really watery, obviously, so they're not used to their texture. So it's very important that you actually look out for such things. Maybe they might be choking, but gagging is normal in babies when they actually start eating solids. Because there are two different ways that you can actually start solid, which is just starting purees and feeding your baby, or baby-led weaning. With purees, when you start your baby at 6 months or before, depending on when you do start, you only need to just give them 1 or 2 teaspoons of whatever you're feeding them a day. They don't need much more than that. Obviously, gradually with time, you can increase the dose and all that stuff. But when they're still young, when they're still starting out, they don't really need too much. With baby-led weaning, what that means is, just in a short explanation, is giving your baby foods just the way they are, not cooking them in terms of mixing up with other fruits and vegetables. For example, an avocado, cutting up an avocado and just giving it to your baby. That's another way you can actually do it, which is just really giving the baby the food as soon as they start feeding. So for that, I'm not too informed about it. I just went with my mommy guides. I just researched obviously how to cut certain foods for certain ages. If you guys want me to do a more detailed video about how to make food, how to cut food, please let me know down in the comment section, and I will actually do that for you guys. They don't need much when they're starting out, and then over time we'll increase the dosage. Obviously, seeing your baby still wanting to feed and all that stuff. Another thing also, guys, please don't force your baby's food. So if, for instance, you are feeding your child 1 teaspoon, and then the second teaspoon they close their mouth or they look away, or they're just not interested in that, don't force feed your kid, because it is building a negative relationship between the baby and the food. So as I said to you guys, we do have different ways you can do this. With the food pouches, it's the food pouches you buy at shops, you know, your brands from Purity, your brands from Squish and all that stuff. You can buy that and give that to your baby. Obviously there are instructions on how to feed them and all that stuff. So basically it's already food that's made and you don't need to do anything else. But what you can do when you first try out is actually try out cereals. I did that with my son. When we first starting Solids, I actually gave him cereals first to test out if he's interested in all that stuff, which he did great and he loved. With food pouches, what you can also do if you don't have really the budget for that, is make food at home. Now what that means is, for example, something that can actually help. You know, when you go to ShopRite or Boxer or Checkers or wherever else, or Clicks, wherever else you buy your baby's food, there are ingredients on, even on the internet, there are ingredients on the food pouches outside. For example, there's apple and pear. There is carrots and sweet potatoes, for instance. What you can do is actually, because that's food you do have at home, if you guys buy groceries, that's food you have at home. So what you can do is actually look at those, use that, and make your food. You do not need to add salt, you do not need to add sugar or any of that stuff. Just mix the fruits and the vegetables as they are. So what you would do is obviously boil it and then blend it together. If you don't have a blender, you can just use a fork. So when you've cooked your food, you can just use a fork to mash it up to become a puree, like a watery texture. So make sure when you start out, you don't give your baby thick foods. That'll come throughout the stages. Just start with watery texture. And what you can do to help you out is actually mix the formula inside your puree or mix your breast milk, so that your baby can have a taste that they actually are used to, and they aren't just like, whoa, what's happening? What are you giving me right now? So yeah, that's what you can also do. Just add breast milk or formula powder, depending on whichever one you are doing with your baby. When you cook at home, you can start with fruits and vegetables. So don't rush into those high allergenic foods, which include peanuts, peanut butter, eggs, and all that stuff. So start with your vegetables and your fruits. Just make sure, what you can actually do if you don't want to do all that admin also is, make sure that you make something that you would eat. So for example, would you take a carrot and eat it with cheese? I'm not saying feed your baby cheese, but I'm just making an example. Is you can't mix those two and eat them yourself. So make something for your baby that you yourself can eat. As I said, no sugar, no salt, no anything, guys, when you start out. And then that's how you actually get started with making it. Also, it is recommended, I did not do this. It is recommended that when you start a new food, is don't mix up the foods. Instead, try one new food. For example, try a carrot for 3 to 4 days to see how your baby reacts towards it. I did do that with some foods, but not most of the time. So you can try that out just to make sure that your baby isn't allergic or anything towards the food that you're actually trying out. So you're just giving yourself a few days to see if my baby is okay with this, is there any reaction and all that jazz. As I touched on this previously, in terms of high allergenic foods, those foods come at a bit of a later stage. I only started introducing meats and cheese and eggs to my son, I think at around 7 to 8 months. But as I said to you guys, you know your baby, you know the signs and everything. Your guts will tell you what you know this is okay, I can do this and all that stuff. Plus also your doctor and research just to get more information with this. I need to also inform you in terms of things that you actually need when you start this journey. For chairs, there's a bamboo, it's called the bamboo chair. I think it's around 400-600 rand. It can be adjustable with the ages, obviously, when your baby grows up. And there's also a high chair. For my high chair, his grandmother bought him the high chair, which was great because we use it to this day. So what a high chair costs, it usually costs around 400 rand. I know his grandmother got it at Game for 400 bucks. So if you can, just try to invest in that at an earlier age, obviously, if you know you want to try that out. The next thing is obviously a bib. Now with bibs, there are different kinds that you can actually get. There's those normal cloth bibs, and then there's a silicone bib. The silicone bib, I use that one. I don't know what's that called in English, in Zulu. Bought him that bib. It came with the set with teething, bracelets and all that stuff. I love that bib. Now what it does, it catches the food, you know, and it's great because it's easy to clean. You don't need to wash, you know, with the normal cloth bib and all that stuff. And there's other ones that are plastic that you can actually wear. You can get it at Discount or online. I think she bought it at an online store, an Instagram store. Next thing is actually you're gonna need a splash mat. It's called a splash mat. I use a normal plastic bin. We know those big plastic, black plastics. I use that. So what this is helpful for is to catch foods, and it makes cleaning up way easier than having to sweep the floor, mop the floor and all that stuff. Another thing is you actually are gonna need bowls, obviously. One tip I can give you guys, which helps me so much, because my son always wants to touch everything and pull his food, throw it on the floor, is get suction bowls, which is why I recommended you guys get a high chair. The suction bowls actually stick on your high chair, so whenever you put food on the high chair, they can't remove the bowl, you know, they can't pull it or swipe it or throw it on the floor, so it stays right there and it sticks until you unlock it, because it's child proof. I got mine at Baby City. I'm pretty sure you can get it at Clicks, Discam, Babies R Us, and all those stores. And obviously you're gonna need spoons. You can get silicone spoons, which are really great also if your baby is gonna start spoon feeding themselves, because it'll be soft on the gums. Lastly, I'm gonna share with you guys how I actually got my son to actually start feeding himself. So before, when I started this whole journey, I actually was buying food pouches. Initially, I wanted to buy stuff and then cook at home. It just got so hectic with my life and just managing my life. It was really hard. So I bought food at the stores, which was okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And gradually with time, I just noticed, you know, I'm spending too much money on this. It is too expensive. A week at most, I think I spent 100 and something rand for just food pouches for breakfast, obviously, a lunch or snack, and then for dinner. I transitioned towards making the foods at home. So what I did is I made whatever food. For example, I made carrots. I boiled them because I don't have a steamer. I boiled the carrots or sweet potatoes or whatever, and I made sure it's soft enough for him to chew, but not soft enough for it to dissolve in the hand. So that you need to balance that out. I don't know, you'll figure it out, guys. But yeah, that's what I did. And then I gave him that. Obviously, I fed him or milk. First, obviously, you need to be patient when you want to feed your baby. You want your baby to self-feed. Very patient, guys. Even now, as he's 10 months and he's almost turning 11 months, he throws food on the floor. He first touches it out, obviously, when he's still wanting to see what is this, what is going on. He touches it, squishes it out, sometimes he throws it on the floor, and eventually he eats when I do know he is actually hungry. It's just that, you know, babies are just babies. So be patient when you do this, guys, because they are gonna frustrate you so much and you're gonna be like, why am I doing this? But it is so great for me. It's such a huge convenience doing this, because I can just leave him and give him whatever food, and I know that he's gonna eat and he's gonna be full. So that's what I did, and every day I would try. Even though he refused something, the next day I would try again, try until obviously we reach a point where he knew, you know what, this is the chair, we are coming to eat, and all that stuff. And also mix up your food. Don't just give your baby one food, because they'll get bored. They are babies, but I mean, who would want to eat everything, the same thing every day? So yeah. And what I do is, when I do make my food, my baby's food, I do not add too much salt. I know you shouldn't add salt. I rather use your organic spices, mixed herbs, cinnamon, and all that stuff. So yeah, and then for breakfast he usually has oats or porridge. I'm trying to teach him to use a spoon right now. It's going okay. So eventually, obviously, I want him to be able to feed himself the porridges and all that stuff. But yeah, guys, that's just basically it. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I will answer you. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like. I will see you on my next video. Bye.